The Wunaleke royal family constitutes of 13 surviving royal family households.
You are not accustomed to the way chieftaincy matters in the Southwest progress. This is not unusual. This is the usual pattern that chieftaincy matters in the Southwest progress. So I am not surprised or shocked or baffled by anything that happened to me. Well, let me explain something. I grew up in this village. I lived in this village for 28 years before I traveled abroad for school. I'm a PhD student in the US. That's why I'm there. I grew up in the chief's palace. He was my uncle. He raised me up for 10 straight years.
Yeah, more.
Like his footstool. So, people have different opinions of different situations. And I respect his opinion, but that's not the truth about my life. Well, I wouldn't say it's been dragging for 2 years. Our father died 2 years ago. The family had to sit. For the family to sit and come up with a candidate, there's a lot of consultations that need to be done. And the family was sitting and consulting. It took the family 8 months to pick their choice. And so it's not an easy process. In the process, we didn't want to ruffle feathers, so we did a lot of due diligence to make sure things progressed naturally and that nobody felt left out. And we have a big family, so it takes time to put everybody together. No, this is actually in fast forward, if you ask me, because the previous chief, he filled it after 10 years, or 9 years actually. So this is progressing. This is progress.
I want to find out where to you exactly is the problem coming from.
I don't see a problem. I'm surprised you are seeing one. Where's your problem?
Don't cost to you.
I wouldn't call it a crisis.
How does it cost you?
This is the regular process that chieftaincy matters in the Southwest take. In the Northwest it's different, but in the Southwest we have our own culture where things are disputed, and then we eventually come to a conclusion and everybody's happy.
Is it?
A lot of things that the kingmakers look to choose a candidate. One of them is that you should be, physically able, know how to read and write. Others could be that you are dynamic, you are a straightforward person, and the others could be that you have leadership skills and charisma. You are somebody who could bring people together. And you have to be a pure breed Bakweri person. It means both your parents have to have pure breed Bakweri lineage. And so I think the notables considered all those characteristics before they chose me as a dynamic person. That's a good question. Like I mentioned before, I'm in the US because I'm a student. I'm a PhD student in the US. This is my village. I own property in Cameroon more than anybody else who is running for this same position. I own buildings in this town more than anybody else who is standing as another candidate. So that shouldn't be a concern to you. Even if you, in Bakweri culture, if you go to a wedding, like what we call a video where they go and decide the bride price of a young lady who is getting married. This is the normal way men exchange arguments and contest the sum of money. So this is our culture. Don't forget, we're a warrior tribe.
It's a very simple situation. I think it has to do with dignity, the dignity of a people. The Bakweri tradition is extremely explicit on the point of succession. It is from father to son. And the chief designate is usually the choice of the departed monarch, of the dead chief. Now, when you hear kingmakers and all of that, it's to accompany this choice. And because in a royal family, several other people have responsibilities. And it basically relies on the former chief. Now, in 2005, the former Paramount chief suffered a stroke, a partial stroke. And he could no longer write and talk fluently. It's from that point that I'm sure some infiltration started. But I'm sure if we are serious and we dig a little bit deeper, we'll find out who his successor is. And he'll be designated. He talked to people, there are other chiefs. He talked to some of our aunts. In fact, I think it is quite clear who his successor is. Our cousins are just exploiting a situation to do something that will not help the Bakweri tradition. Because if we change the Bakweri tradition at this stage and make a cousin who is not in line of succession a king, it will replicate in the rest of the Bakweri tribe. It will start happening in other tribes, in other villages, and that will be very bad. This is the most important stool in Bakweri land, and that is why I'm appealing to the authorities of this country to be very careful about the designation of the future king. But to me, it is simple. He made a choice, and it is easy to find out who that choice is. That is a diplomatic way of talking.
Okay.
You cannot put this house in order. All of the people who spoke today, almost all except me, are from the other camp. Okay. Except me. In fact, one of my cousins, the one who was sweating and jumping around, if I were not a prince, I will talk to you about his origins, as the name he bears, and about his zealousness in this whole thing. There are so many underlying things that people don't know. For instance, the Bakweri Cooperative Union of Farmers, which is called the BCUF, has some important property in Dibanda, which one of those people that you saw shouting today has sold to the Baptist mission. They are scared of all of that. That is why they want to designate a king they can manipulate. The property where Plantekam was is Bakweri property. One individual has sold it to the Baptist, to the Baptist convention, and let the Baptist convention know that we will take them to task. They will explain to us how they got to acquire that piece of property, where Plantekam was in the Banda. So you see, that's just one point I'm raising. So what you see here is drama. There are many other underlying facts, and there are many other underlying issues. Le problème de la désignation du prochain roi de Bakweri, pour moi, est très simple. C'est très simple parce que le feu roi, donc Samuel Ndele, a succédé à son père. Son père est mort en 1925 quand il avait 2 ans. Donc on a mis son oncle au trône et ils ont laissé leur oncle terminer sa règne et son oncle lui a remis le trône. C'est aussi simple. Donc un cousin ne peut pas venir des États-Unis et devenir roi. C'est aussi simple. Qu'on cherche à couronner le choix du feu roi. Il avait fait un choix et le choix est connu. Qu'on cherche à trouver qui il avait désigné et on le couronne comme roi. Moi, j'ai assisté à 2 grandes successions à Douala. On a couronné le choix du prince René Douala Mangabel. Il n'y avait pas de problème. À Daïdo, on a aussi couronné le choix du roi Sake Kwala. Et c'était toujours les princes et ses enfants, ses fils. Heureusement, l'argent est entré en jeu. Les gens sont venus ici en tenue, les gens qui devaient avoir l'honneur de dire les vérités ont déjà mangé jusqu'à... C'est très compliqué. Donc ce que vous voyez là, c'est ainsi que c'est de l'argent et c'est triste pour l'une des plus vieilles dynasties de ce pays.
Normal procedure is provided by the regulation in force. It can take, at times it takes even 10 years, 15 years. Why? Because people are there to petition. Let the families, they themselves, sit at their level and to designate who is to represent these families. So that when we come here, all the families have agreed to talk. Please. If you used to behave the way I'm saying amongst yourself, is not, you cannot do it, especially sitting here. Yeah, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. The thing with me, I want to talk for here. Now me I be the bodyguard for Paramount Chief, late Paramount Chief of Buea. Now me I go saute we install all the chiefs there. But now why? That is where all the Bakore people come from.
We are here to discuss about the Paramount.
Take note that there is no traditional council existing in Buea. Documents to that effect are very available. So, to harmonize any authority.
Full stop. The answer.
I am the direct and only notable representative of the royal family.
I was secretary of Chief Devashos Indeli from 1971 to 1982 when he died. I also served under the late Chief Sam Indeli as his vice chairman until he dissolved. So I know the people. When the second list was read, he read names from some of the families that we have here. Because of the confusion that has been set up in this town, I will not agree. Let them pick out the names.
My name is Humphrey. And the former speakers, the two of them, who of them told me that I was Bova. He is more Bova than I am. And it is recorded in gazettes that after the exercise of your father in council, you had no reason to even talk about Buea. For Mola Ikundi, I'm sure everybody knows that he's from Wonjawa. He's not from Wondogo. Now you cannot arrogate yourself rights in a village where I can stand and talk and ask me where I come from. It will be an Ndeli who will be a chief in Buea. So stop robbing people mud and slinging mud to people. Sit down yourselves and arrange your house.
How was she?
Okay.